Hey guys, welcome back to a new episode of Dev Drawer. Today we're going to be doing things a little bit differently. Today we're not actually going to be using any code at all. Whenever I did the video for Free Code Camp, I realized that a lot of people were interested in the design process of how I build out these websites. And the design process I use is Illustrator, but you can use any kind of program that you want. And I actually sped through that part in the video, which a lot of people were commenting, slow it down, this is very interesting, we like this, can you send us copies of everything that you have in it, and stuff like that. And I figured that it might be worthwhile kind of doing a tutorial all on its own of my design process as a developer. I am not a graphic designer by any means. I would consider myself pretty good at it, but I'm a developer. So if you're in the same situation where you know how to use some of these tools, you can actually utilize them to build out these websites the way that you want them to be. So with that in mind, you don't need to use Illustrator for this tutorial. You can use Figma, you can use Adobe XD, you can use GIMP. There's a whole bunch of different other kinds of programs that you can use that aren't part of the Adobe suite. They don't cost money. I mean, you can find free programs, whatever program that you're used to that you're designing in, you can pretty much recreate this exact same process inside of any kind of program that you're looking for. So this isn't really like an Adobe Illustrator tutorial, it's more of a design tutorial. So keep that in mind whenever you're watching the video, because you don't need this tool in order to build out this type of a website. And then jumping off of that, since I've finished up with the API and the app development tutorials, I want to go into something new maybe next week, and I want to have your opinion on it. So right now my choices are between Laravel or building out an MVC with C#. So I really want to do both projects, and I eventually will, but I'm interested to know what you guys would like to see next. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel, subscribe to the channel, like it, comment, and let me know what type of video you would like to see next. Right now the choices are Laravel, probably going to be Laravel 7 since I'm not too familiar with Laravel 8 at the moment, but Laravel 7, and then using C# to build out an MVC inside of Visual Studio. So that right now is the two options. So comment down below and let me know which one you'd be more interested in. And also stay tuned at the end of this video for a quick announcement that I'm doing for my channel. You definitely don't want to miss it. You probably do want to be a part of it, but just go to the end of the video or watch the entire video all the way through to see the announcement. And for right now, I guess that's it, and we'll go ahead and get started. Whenever I develop a website or design a website, I keep in mind what kind of framework I'm using. Most of my projects utilize Bootstrap, so whenever we're building out for Bootstrap, you might want to create guides for yourself. Right now, I created an artboard that is 1920 by, let's see what it is, 1920 by 1080, and that height will expand based on the design, but I think this is the default large website block that Illustrator lets you select from whenever you're starting a new project. So if you have anything where you can pre-select these items inside of your program, you can use that, but in Illustrator there's actually a large website predefined area, and 1920 would probably hit most of the monitors that we want to, and then with using Bootstrap it'll be responsive. So whenever we're using Bootstrap, we know that we're going to be working with the 12 column layout. So what we want to do is the 1920 divided by 12 is going to be 160 pixel width columns. So let's go ahead, and first thing we want to do is add in those columns, but we're also going to have some padding on each side of those columns. And I have my snap to grid turned on, or snap to guides turned on, so whenever I drag something down, it'll actually snap to the next part of it. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to click here after clicking on my rectangle, and I'm going to say that I want to do the 20 pixels and then the height of 1080, because that's what our current artboard is. So 20 pixels by 1080, and then that's just going to create us an element that looks like this. So for the border of this element, I'm just going to bring it down to like 0.25, and then let's zoom in, make sure it's lined up on the top in the left corner, which it is. And then from there we're going to, I'm going to hold down the Alt key, and I'm just going to duplicate this and then drag it right next to it. Now this box, we're going to make it the 160 pixel width of the column. So essentially that's going to give us 20 pixel padding on the left, and then we're going to do the same thing on the right. And then it's going to be 12 columns that are 160 pixel width total. So I'm going to go ahead and take this and drag it off, because this thing is going to line up exactly the way we want it to. So let's just go ahead and Alt and drag it over to delete, or to clone it, and then we're just going to do that 6 times. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So now I'm going to highlight all of them, and then I'm going to Alt clone it again to bring it all over. So now these extend all the way out, but I want to have this 20 pixel padding on the left and the right. And actually we don't need this element, so we're just going to have the program do it for us. So I'm going to highlight all the elements, and then I'm going to change this where it is 1880, which is 1920 minus 20 on the right, 20 on the left. So 1880, and then now that I have these all selected, I'm going to group them together, and then I'm just going to center align them so it has 20 pixel padding on each side. And now that I have this complete, I'm going to turn it into a guide, which you won't be able to see what I'm doing just because I'm using OBS Studio and to record this, and I'd have to make it where you can view every single window. So just follow along with what I'm telling you to. So we're going to highlight all of it, and then I'm going to go up to View, Guides, Make Guides. So now we have these guides. Whenever we want to put a new element on here, it'll snap to each one of these sections, so we know that we're staying within the column boundaries that Bootstrap has. So now that we have our guides created, I'm going to come over here and I'm just going to rename it to Guides, rename this entire layer to Guides, and then I'm going to lock it. And then on top of that, I'm going to put a new layer, which is going to be the layer that we're designing inside of. So what I want to do today is build out a let's say like a dentist website. A dentist website, they're very common. So if you do client development, then it's something that you're probably going to run into. So let's try to build out a simplistic dental website. And I'm not going to, it's going to be kind of wireframed, but it's also going to be using real images and some parts of it. But the wireframing of it, like for example the logo, I don't have a logo for a dentist clinic, so I'm probably just going to put in some dummy text there for representing a logo. Same thing for the navigation. I don't know what the navigation would be of the dentist clinic that you're looking at, or even the dentist clinic that we would be looking at until we actually get that project. But you can just use dummy text for the design of it. So what I want to do before I start putting any elements on here is create the color guides for myself. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to create a new layer again, and this one I'm just going to call it elements. Then I'm going to move that down, and again you probably can't see what I'm doing right now because it is inside of a separate window, but you can just follow along with what I'm saying. So let me move over to the right a little bit, and I'm going to create some squares here. So let's say we want to have typically between 4 and 5 colors that are being used on a website. So let's draw out 4 or 5 different squares. So I'm going to take one square, I'm just going to drag it over with the Alt, and let's say we're going to just build out 5 of them. So we know we're going to use a white for some parts of it. We know we're going to use a black for some parts of it. So let's go ahead and make that black. And you don't necessarily want to have black, because black on white, it's very hard to, it's not hard to read, but it makes your head hurt after a little while. So we want to have a subtle black color on top of the white background so that it doesn't make your head hurt. And I'm going to just take away the borders on all of them so I don't have to worry about those. Okay, so the first one, we're going to change this to a 333-333, which is what I usually use in place of the blacks. And then we're going to take these 4 and make them into different variations of a blue color. And I'm using a blue color just because I've done a dentist website before, and blue is very popular with dentists. So I'm just going to click here and just start building out a few different variations of blue. So that's going to be like the primary blue, And then I'm going to come over here and we're going to grab like a secondary blue, and then we're going to do like a lighter version of it. So let's do the secondary here, and then we're going to do another blue color just a little bit lighter. And let's go here. I'm just grabbing some colors off the internet. And then let's do one final blue color just in case we need to have like a highlight somewhere. We'll have just another blue color that we can choose from. Actually, you know what? Let's throw in another color like green. Let's do like a green. Okay, blue and green go very well together. So let's throw in a green color here. And if we need to have an alternate blue, we can always add that in there later. All right. So let's say we got our blues and we got green. Alright, so now we got the color scheme that we want to use. Let's put in some font color or fonts here as well. So we're going to do a header font, and I don't know what kind of fonts you would want to use, but let's say we're going to make our header. Let's see. I'm going to go over here and change what our document setup is instead of using. Well, it's using pixels. So why is it using points over here? Okay, again, not a designer, but header pixels, points, same difference, just one's larger, one's smaller, based on what you're using it for. But we'll go ahead and just leave those as points because honestly, I don't know how to change them. So I'm just going to make a header, and right now I think we're just going to stick with Open Sans for it. So we're going to do Open Sans here, and it's going to be bold. And then we're going to come down here, just going to duplicate this down, and it's going to be regular, and this is going to be just our content, our body text. So body text, and we're going to make it a little bit smaller. So that looks good right there. So the headers, we want to have all uppercase. For the body text, we're going to have them proper case. So body text. Okay, so that is the colors that we want to use. That is the header font. That is the body font. We could probably come in here and do like an H2 as well. So let's drag this down and just make a header 2. So we're going to do header 1, and then header 2 will just be a little bit smaller for us. And the reason why I'm building these out to the side like this is because when we go to actually do the design, I can just use Illustrator, click on the text I want, and then click on the eyedropper tool over here. It'll copy the format of what it looks like. Alright, so let's take these and just make them all line up. Okay. Alright, so now we can get back over to our design. So let's focus on building out the header because we're going to create the element for the header as well. So let me go ahead and I'm going to lock this for now, and I'm going to actually already have a layer for that. So let's come over here, just rename this to header, and then this is where we're going to be building out that header. So first thing we know we're going to be doing is we're going to have a logo on it. So let's say if we want to have a logo that goes all the way to the top, we want it to be a maximum width of 2 columns. So I'm going to build out the logo part here and make it that maximum width of 2 columns like that. And it's just going to be a block for now until we have a logo that we can put inside of it. And then we're going to be building the navigation next to it. So we're going to take the navigation and we're going to make it right aligned, and we're going to start it off over here. So for this, we're going to have an about us, and then let's give it some spacing. Yeah, so let's just give it like 10 pixels, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then the next part, what would a dentist usually need? Let's say like patient information. So patient information. Let me zoom in a little bit so I can see it and y'all can see it. So patient information, and then I'm going to take this 10 pixels that I copy. I'm going to copy it and paste it at the end. And then let's see, what else do we need? Services, resources, contact us. Alright, so let's do services, resources, and then contact us. Actually, instead of doing contact us, let's do schedule an appointment. So that we can make it where it stands out a little bit. Now that we have this text the way we want it, we can click on our eyedropper tool, come over here and grab that text the way it is over there, make it right aligned again. So our body text, obviously it's a little too big, so let's come in and resize the body text on this side. Let me unlock it, and let's resize that down to about right there. Nope, right there. Okay, so now let me lock it again, click on this, and I'm gonna grab it one more time, make it right aligned. Let's see how that looks. Yep, that looks much better. Alright, so now we can take this and we can drag it over to the right side of the screen so that it aligns up with this last line that we have for our columns, because that's where our columns start, this is where our columns end. Now we also, for our navigation up here, we want to make these all uppercase, which I should have did whenever I was building it out. Don't know an easy way to do this, so let me see. Transform. Yeah, I don't think there's a way that I can do this. If there is, I have no idea. Well, okay. So I'm gonna make them all uppercase the hard way, maybe. So let's do about us. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And there's probably an easier way to do this, but again, I'm not a designer, so I don't know all of these shortcuts. So patient information, services, resources, and then schedule an appointment. Okay, so now let's just delete this element. Okay, so we have our header the way we wanted, and again, this is 1920 by 1080p or 1080 pixels. So we have some room to work with, especially if they're on a larger monitor. We can make it where, you know, the content goes all the way out to the side, because we can change our use container fluid so it adds that padding on the left and the right, or we can increase our container inside of Bootstrap to be, you know, whatever pixel width that we want it to be. So just keep that in mind whenever you're working on this, because your designs aren't always going to reflect what you actually do in code. Okay, so now we're going to just bring this down a little bit. I'm going to duplicate it, and we're going to add some more information at the top of it. So let's say we want to have contact us, which will be different than the schedule an appointment. So let's do contact us, and then we want to have like a phone number. So we're just going to put a space, a line, and then we're going to do the phone number, which could be 1-800-000-000, yeah, whatever number that they have. And I forgot to change the color of my text for the body over here, so let me adjust that real quick. So the body text is also going to be 333, 333. Then the headers are going to be the same thing. So I forgot to do those, which means I might have to do it manually for the elements that I just created. So let's take these and make them updated. Okay. Alright, so now it looks better whenever it's not stark black against white like I explained earlier. You can kind of see the difference here. Now for this, we don't want it to be the same size as our primary navigation menu, so we're going to take this and let's just bring down the point size a little bit. So let's maybe we want to make it get down to 20 points. Alright, so that way we can have, you know, other various sub-navigation items up here that don't conflict with what we're seeing here. And then we can actually probably go over here and just bold this out. And again, this is all personal preference. You don't have to do your design this way. I'm just kind of showing you the process that I do, you know, going through how to build out a website. Alright, so now we have our header done. So what I want to do is I'm going to take that header and I'm going to group it all together, and then I'm going to take it and I'm going to drag it out using the command or the alt, and then just drag it up to copy it. Then I'm going to take this that's highlighted and I'm going to drag it down into our elements group. Then we're just going to lock that because we will be using that on internal pages as well, depending on how many internal pages that we want to do. Okay, so we have our header the way that we want it right now. We need to do a hero image. So I already have a hero image that I've downloaded, so I'm going to place a hero image right below this header element. So let's do another, and we're going to call it hero. If I could spell it correctly. There we go. Okay, so inside of this I'm going to go to File, Place, and I'm just going to browse out for an image that I got off of Pixabay. And now we have this hero image that we want to use, and we're going to put it right below where that logo is to give it about the same amount of padding on the top as it does on the bottom. And obviously our hero is way too big, so let's go ahead and we want to have it kind of centered where it needs to be at. So let's say about right here is where we want to have it at, and then we're going to draw a box on top of it, so at about the spacing that we want it, and we're just going to bring this all the way across, and then we can select both items and make a clipping mask, and it'll cut out that the bottom and the top for us. And if we ever wanted to undo that mask, we can just hit release mask and it'll undo it. Let's go back and put it back on there. Okay, so now this is a brightly colored image with a whole bunch of different kind of colors on it. So we're going to take this blue that we have here and we're going to do an overlay on top of it. So let's come back over here to where we initially drew our rectangle. We're going to draw one again, and we're going to use our eyedropper and we're going to grab this color. Now what we want to do is have it where this box is kind of transparent, so we're going to do the opacity and we're just going to bring it down or bring it up a little bit so that we can see behind it that there's an image. So now we have our hero image, so let's throw in some text there with a button that we need to for a call to action. So let's use some text, and we're going to use the header 1 for this. So this needs to be important text because it will be the header of this page. Alright, so let's say welcome to example dentist. Okay, so now I want to take this and I want to have it centered inside of this text. So first thing we're going to do is center it here, and then we're going to center it here so it centers it inside of the entire section. And then I want to come over here and I'm going to use the, well, I spelled welcome wrong too, so good thing I enlarged it. So let's do that again. Let's center it, there we go, and let's fix this. Okay, so obviously we don't want to have dark text here because it's going to look weird, so we're going to do a white text overlay, or a white text on top of the blue overlay. Okay, and then let's say we want to have this down here, and let's give them a call to action to actually use. So we're going to move this up a little bit, and let's put like a horizontal rule underneath it, which is just going to be a rectangle for us. I'm going to have to move that down a little bit. There we go. And then we can put in some dummy text that looks like our body text with a call to action on it. So let's say we want to do, I'm just going to grab some lorem ipsum real quick. There we go. And I'm just going to click there, paste it, and then we're going to select this layer and we're going to copy that. We're going to center it, and then we're going to change the color of it to white as well. And we don't want to have that much text on there, so let's get rid of some of this text. Let's see how far it's coming out. So let's say we want to have just one sentence. So let's get rid of the rest of that, and that's all we need there. just to showcase what you can actually put some text there. And I also want to make this a little bit thinner as well. So instead of 10 pixels, let's say 5 pixels. Yeah, that looks better. Okay, so now we need to do the button that's going to be the call to action underneath it. So let's take this, we're going to bring it down, and we're going to change this to, let's say, schedule an appointment. Okay, and then we're going to just, we're going to have it where this button is just going to be a white bordered transparent button. So let's just draw it around with some padding on each side. We're going to reverse that, maybe give it a 2 pixel border around it, and then we just need to center these objects. There we go. And now that we have all of those, so now it should be centered inside of the whole window. So essentially that's how we would create our hero. I'm not liking how there's more spacing down at the bottom than there is at the top. So what we're going to do is on our hero, I'm going to lock the background elements, and then I'm going to highlight these, and I'm just going to hold down shift and drag them down to about where I want them. So right there. Okay, so now I can unlock this and then lock our hero. So this is what our hero will look like. I don't suggest doing like sliders. Sliders were very popular. They're no longer popular. Just because they provide a lot of information, but people usually don't get past the first or the second slide. So if you're going to do a full image hero, just make it a single image with some text on top of it, because you'll get more results that way. Okay, now one thing that I've done previously on a medical style website is I didn't use straight edges like this. I actually built out some pretty cool things that kind of, they're like boxes that are bigger on one side and then they kind of alternate with each other. I'll show you what I mean in just a second. But before we do that, we need to extend out our artboard. So let's come over here to our artboard settings, and I'm just going to change this 1080 pixel, let's just say like 6000 for now, and then we can come back and edit that later. Which also means that we need to change out our element, or our guide. So I'm going to click on our guide. I thought I was going to click on our guide. So, oh, that's because I got to click on this. Now, with the guides, I have no idea how to make that bigger. So I think I should be able to just select these, right? Yeah. Alright, so let's try this. So select. So I'm selecting all of the layers individually because it wouldn't let me select them, probably because they're already set up as a guide. So I'm just going to select those and going to change it to 6000 pixel height. That way they stretch all the way down. Then I'm going to relock our guides. Okay, so now we should have guides that go all the way down to 6000 pixels. And it moved my content down. That's awesome. Okay, so let me undo this. I might have actually selected the wrong thing earlier. So let me bring it back up to the top where it's supposed to be. Verify it. Okay. Alright, so now let me relock those, and I'm going to create a new layer that goes underneath our hero. So what I want to do here is something that's not just a flat, boring, squared website. I actually want to give it some angles, which we'll use angles throughout the rest of it as well. But we're going to start off with some angled boxes. So what I want to do is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to design out these angled boxes. So what I need to do is I'm going to grab just a rectangle, and let's say we want to make, well, let's make it a square. Let's make it a square, and then I'm going to grab my little white arrow, click on this, click on this. Nope, I need to click on this, and we need to bring it in. Yeah, that looks about right. Let's click on this. We're going to bring it in as well. Looks about right. Okay, So I think just make it a little bit shorter. So what this is essentially going to do, it's going to be a section that describes information that they need to know immediately. So we're going to have it alternate between the blue colors. And I'm going to take this, I'm going to click on it, I'm going to right click, and I'm going to go to transform, reflect, and just copy it over. And then I'm going to make sure it aligns where it needs to go. And then I'm going to take this entire section and do the exact same thing again. So we're going to do transform, reflect, copy, and then we're going to move it over so that we have these 4 boxes. Now I can highlight all of them, and I'm going to have them all line up on the top, and then they have a little bit of spacing in between them, which it's okay. I mean, if you don't want those, I think I put a border around them. You just click on the border and remove it. So I'm just going to click on the border and remove it. Now I want to have this section is going to be this color, and then this section is going to be this one, and this one, and then I guess we can have another one that has like another variation of this color. So it kind of gives it a little bit of a it gives it an effect. It's not something that's just straight up like a normal I guess a normal design. It just kind of gives it some separation of elements. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to group all these together. We're going to drag it over, and we're going to align it with the center. So let me align it center there, and we're going to put this on top of our hero because we want those sections to break it up. And now I'm going to take these elements and we're going to resize them so that they fit inside of our grid, which I need to, there we go. So that one fits inside the grid, and that one does too. So now we have this section that is being broken up in between the hero and the actual content of the site. Now I'm going to turn off the guides. Let's see, smart guides. Nope. Where are you at? View, guides, hide guides. So this is going to be kind of what the website looks like. Now I'm seeing some blending going on here because of the background image. So what we can do to make it where it is separated is on this hero we can add a border on the top of it and the bottom of it. So I'm going to select the hero, and we can just draw some lines the top and the bottom of it just to kind of give it that little bit of a separation. So I'm just going to grab my pen tool, I'm over here, and we're just going to draw a line going all the way across, and we can make that the 333 color as well. And then we're just going to take this line and we're going to duplicate it down. Let me grab the line, and we're just going to duplicate it down and put it right on top of that. So now whenever we go to view it, so we can do view, I don't know if y'all will be able to see this or not, but you can go to view presentation mode and it'll show you the design, and it looks good to me. We need to take this and bring it up just a little bit because the line was showing up behind it. Okay, so now we have the hero section done, and we have this little layer right here. So this layer right here is going to have icons on it. The icon is going to describe certain things that you can do on the website. So I already have some icons, so I'm going to go ahead and place all of the icons that I have, and we're just going to put them on the website. So we got that, and that. Okay, so for the first one, we're going to take this and just put it right here. Actually, let's make it a little bit smaller because we're going to have text underneath it as well. Okay, so that could be the first one, and then this one is going to go here. This one is going to go here. And then finally, this one is going to go here. Okay, so we have our icons, and now we're going to put in some text underneath them. So we're going to use the header 2 tag text for this. So the first one, we're just going to say header, and we're going to center it between this item, and we're going to change the font to match our header 2, and we're going to make it white as well. So click on this and center. That is not what I want to do. I'm going to have to manually center these. I should have put all these in before I grouped them. Actually, you know what? Let me click on this and ungroup it. That'll work. So take this, 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 and I'm going to align to a key object, which is going to be this box, and then we can center that. There we go. Okay. So now let's take the header, we're going to change this to white text, and we're also probably not going to use the header 2, so let's make it a little bit smaller to like a header 3, and center. I gotta center this thing again, so let me come in here and let's resize it back to where we wanted it. Grab that, grab this, align to key object, click on the box, then center align it. Okay, so now we have that, so we can just take this header and move it over so it's centered in each one of these boxes. And then we're going to have to put text underneath it, so let's take and lock these squares so we can grab the text only and move them up. Take this and we're going to move it up so that we can put one line of text underneath it. Alright, so now let's do our text, and the line of text is going to be very, very small. So let's just say sample text here, and then we're going to take this item and we're going to make it the same size as the body font, and then we're going to make it white. And then we can just take this and make sure we're using center so that it lines up with the center of our other text. There we go. And then we're just going to duplicate it on through the rest of them. And the last one here. Okay, so just make sure that these are all lined up. We're going to make sure that they're all top of line with each other. Okay, so that'll give it a little bit of character, just having that little section in there. And then these this entire section can be something that they can click on, and it'll go to a specific page, like a schedule an appointment, get directions, stuff like that. So let's go ahead and we're going to lock out this, and this is just going to be we're just going to call it CTA. And now we get into the content of the site, and then we're going to start splitting up some of these sections. So let's do another section, or another layer. We're going to drag it down. We're going to call this one content, and then I'm just going to write out some dummy content. Let's see, so text. And we want to have a header on it. I want to have it left aligned. We want to have a header, which is probably going to be an H3 or an H2. Make sure it lines up where it needs to go. And I'm going to turn back on the guides, because we want it to come out to here, but we're also going to have padding around it, so we don't want it to be all the way to the side. So, well, we might. So let's just see how this works. I didn't actually add in any of the padding around the columns, so that's something y'all might have to worry about whenever you're designing it, but there should be usually like some padding on each side of the column. I think it's 10 or 15 pixels on each side of the column, which I did not add, but you can add that in there whenever you're designing your guide, or just be aware of that whenever you're building it out. So let me generate some lorem ipsum. Alright, there we go. And then we just want to make sure that it wraps inside of this 6th column. And I know most designers don't like orphan text, orphan words, but in the actual website that you build out, the orphan words are going to happen whether you want them or not, just because you can't control the content. You can do some stuff with CSS to make it where it's a lot easier on the eyes, but for the most part, you can't really control what goes on inside of it. You just kind of have to deal with your orphans. Okay, so now I'm going to add this as a header tag. So let's come up here and we're going to grab our H2, just like that. And let's make this wrap down here. Alright, so now we have our header tag and some content that goes below it. And we can also put in, other subheaders or whatever else you want to do here. So let's say if we wanted to take this content, and I wouldn't suggest making it very long because people have very short attention spans, but if you wanted to do 3 paragraphs, you could. If you don't, then you don't have to. But this is the general flow of the content. We kind of look like this. Let's say on the right side of it, we don't really want to have content on this side of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw a box, and we're just going to have like a video that would go there. So let's just draw a rectangle that extends out, and then this would be where like a video goes. So I'm going to take the let's say like let's do this one, because we're going to have like some social media call outs underneath it. And then I'm just going to put in a little play button so they'll understand that this is a video window. So let's draw out a circle, make it white, and we're going to center it inside of this box. So let's do align to key object here. Then we do center, center. Then I'm just going to draw out a play. So let's see, we got this here. We're going to make this into a triangle. I completely just forgot how to do that. Where's this? Where's it at? I think there's a button that I need to click whenever I'm drawing it. Hold on, let me go back to it. Well, there's a shape somewhere up here. Here. Oh, shape 3. There we go. That's what I was looking for. At the very top, this little shape window. I just didn't see it whenever I was looking for it. And then we're just going to spin it around, and we can drag it down inside of our circle. Make sure it's centered, and then just resize it so it looks like a play button. Okay, so now we have a video section, and underneath it, let's put in some social media options. So we're just going to draw a rectangle like this, and we're going to make it that primary blue color, and then we'll just put in some icons for social media, which I believe I already have. So let me do place, social media, and let's just say Facebook and Twitter. Okay. So let's take this, and I'm going to resize these two icons so that they are the same size but bigger. Alright, there we go. So now I can take these icons and put them, let me make sure they are aligned with each other. I'm going to take these, and I'm just going to duplicate it down instead of copying it completely. Just make sure it's centered, and now we have where they can tweet or Facebook this video. And I'm going to add these to our elements section. Let's take this and we'll drag it down to elements. So now we have these elements for use later. Alright, so now we have some general content. Let's put up a generic button. So a generic button is going to look essentially like this, but it's going to have white text on it. So I'm going to drag this over to here and resize it, and then we're just going to put some text on the inside of it, and let's say like schedule an appointment. Then I want to make sure that my text is the same as the body text but white, and we can also make our button text blue or bold. So bold. And then we just make sure that this is aligned inside of itself. So we're going to align the key object, click on the square, and make sure it's centered. So now we can also take this and make it an element as well. So we're going to group this together, unlock our elements, and I'm going to drag it over here to the side so that we can use that in future references. And then I'm just going to make sure it's inside of my elements. There we go. And now I'm just going to take this and make sure it lines up underneath the content about the same as the spacing or the padding. We could also create another button here. So I'm going to create another button and make it a success button. So this will be like our primary button, and then over here we're going to have the background for it is going to be this green color. And I don't want both of them to be that color, just the background. And then here we're going to group these together. So now we have a let's say this is going to be success centered here. Ungroup it so I can align them. So centered, and now we can group them back together. So now when we go to write out that button, it'll be centered regardless of what we put on the inside of it. And I need to do the same thing to this one. So align, then center as well, and then we can group it back. So now we have a primary button and we have a success button. So let me do primary and success. Okay, so now back over here, I want to take this, we're going to ungroup it, and we're going to change that color to the success, because I think there's a lot of blue on the screen right now. So we want to click on the background and change that to our success color, and we're going to group that down too. Okay, so now we have our hero, we have some generic content, and actually I want to go ahead and we're going to take this entire section and I want to move it down just so it's not butting right up against that first section. And now we're going to start a new section where it's going to be broken into using like a what is it called, like the same kind of angles that we're using here. We're going to use it down here in order to break it up into another section. Alright, so what I want to do in order to accomplish that is I'm going to take this CTA and I'm going to grab the CTA, which I have currently locked it. Let me go ahead and group these together. So group them together. So now I want to take this and I want to make sure that I have that same kind of angle in between the sections, but we're not going to have 4 of these. So let's take this, drag it down to here, and we're going to lock this now. And I locked the wrong one. Alright, so this is the one that I need to drag down, and now I can lock that. There we go. Okay, so now I'm going to ungroup this section, and we're going to get rid of 2 of the boxes because we don't want it to be, we don't need both of them. And then we're going to take this and let's make it bigger, make it go all the way to the sides of the screen, and then this is the angle that we want to work with for these sections. So let's say we're going to have both of these. The next section we're going to have it green, so we're going to come up here to our green color, and this is going to be a section that's kind of like it's using this angle in order to split up between the different sections. I want to bring it down a little bit to make sure we kind of have roughly the same amount of spacing between the sections. And this will be something that extends past the container, so it would have to be outside of your container on each side. And then inside of this, let's just list out a few services. So I want to grab this, and we're going to bring it down to here. Nope. Going to copy it and going to bring it, where's the text at? Here. I'm going to drag this up so we can actually see it. We're going to get rid of all of the other text because we just want to have a header section that splits it up. So we're going to do comprehensive services, and then we're going to make this white like this. And we could add some text inside of it, but I don't necessarily want to do that. And let's go ahead and center it. So the next section that they get down to would be comprehensive services, and then we're going to have some squares that represent some of their primary services that they're wanting to sell, with a call to action that goes to view all of their services. So for right now, I'm just going to draw out some boxes that are going to go inside of it. So we want to have 3 of these boxes, so we need to have where they extend to I would say halfway in between the 4th column. And I'm going to take this and we're just going to duplicate it over so it extends halfway and extends halfway. So now we're going to take these 3 and we're going to group them and then center them. So it's very close to what we want, but obviously it's kind of butting up against it right here. So we want to take this section and we're just going to drag it down so we have some more spacing around it. And let's pull it up so we get some spacing on the top as well. So this could be the services, and then you can have like a picture of each one of the services in between it, and then a button that goes to all of their services. So let's say we want to have let's just use some generic text and say service 1, and I want to center this so it's going to go right there. Then I'm just going to copy it, drag it over to the center of the white box, and then this can be service 2, and then service 3. Now previously, whenever I've done something like this, I made it where there are comprehensive services. It doesn't just list out their primary services. What it actually does, every time you reload the page, it shows a different service. So right now it may be showing service 1, 2, and 3, and then the next one may be 7, 8, and 9, or 3, 4, and 5, or something like that. So it shows different services with each load of the page. And then let's say we want to have an image, and I don't really have an image, so I'm just going to take a dummy image that I'm finding on the internet, and let's see if I can just use that one. So I'm going to do File, Place, and let's just use this image. Now, what happened here is that the text went behind the image. So what we want to do is we're going to have the text is going to be in front of the image, but you can't see it this way. So we're going to put a white border around it, and then probably what I'm going to end up doing is just I'm going to go ahead and take this, take these, we're going to ungroup these, and then I'm just going to remove these because we're going to do some design on this one, and then we're going to use it for the rest of them. So let's take this, move it down a little bit, and then we're going to put a white background behind it, starting here in this corner. We're just going to drag it up to about right here, make it white, then drag it behind the text, and we can take this and we're going to align it to that key object again. We're going to center it and center it in between. So now we have this image with the text. So whenever you could do something with it, so make it even a little more design. So whenever they hover over it, it shows a little button. So I'm going to just add something here just to kind of give it a little bit of a different design, and I'm going to use that blue. So we have this green right now. I'm going to use this blue here to make it where this little box kind of makes it stand out, makes it pop a little bit more. Then I'm going to take this, take this and this, and I'm going to align it to key object. Try that again. So we're going to align it to a key object, select the object, and then we're going to center it. Okay, so now we have our service box design set up. So we can take, let me go ahead and lock this. I'm going to take this and we're going to group it together, and then we're going to duplicate it twice. So about right here, and then about right here. Now to make sure that I have the correct spacing, I can come over here, and there's these three little dots. You probably can't see what pops up, but there's like a spacing that you can see that between the artboard itself, that it's aligning them with the same amount of spacing. So now that we have them spaced properly, I'm going to group them, and then I'm going to center them in the artboard. And that is how you can do your services. So let's change this to service 2 so the client would recognize that this is a different service even though it's using the same image. So service 2, and then we're going to come over here, and we got to get out of that. And now we're going to do service 3. Okay, so now we have our services. We have our hero, we have the split section the way that we want it. So let's put a button underneath this that says view all services, and it's essentially going to be the same kind of button that we did in our hero. So let me take this and this. I'm just going to copy it, and then inside of the content I'm going to paste it. Now let's drag it up to, that looks about right, and then we can select this, view all services. Alright, so now we have our call to action for the comprehensive services section. You can add some text underneath this if you'd like, but you kind of get the idea of the design that we're trying to go with here. It's got some angles in it, and yeah. Alright, so let's keep going. So let's do another section. We're going to have a footer call to action that's going to be very similar to this section. So I'm going to go ahead and take this, I'm going to copy it, I'm going to create a new layer, and this is going to be footer CTA, and then I'm going to paste it inside of this. Now I'm going to drag it down so that it aligns with this, but it's going to be a little further down because we haven't got to this part yet. I'm just adding it, and it's also not going to be this green color. It's going to be using our primary blue. So let's select that blue for now, and I'm going to go ahead and lock that down because we don't need it yet. Okay, so now we have the comprehensive services, and then what we could put here is just some generic information. So let's say like location information or something like that. So what we could do is just grab like a Google Maps image. So I'm going to take a screenshot of a Google Maps location. I don't know, I'm just going to Google hospital or dentist. So dentist, I don't know, let's do like Miami. and then I'm just going to pull up a Google map, and I'm just going to take a screenshot of that Google map where everything is on it. Alright, so hold on, I'm still trying to get this Google map image the way that I want it. Here, then I'm just going to zoom in and just pick one of them out. I don't know who it is, just Googling it. Alright, so let's try this one. So I'm going to selected area, and that should be good. Okay, so now back to design. I'm going to paste it in, and this is again just an image that I took from Google Maps, and this would be an actual like real interactive map, but for this purpose it's not going to be an interactive map, just going to be an image of it. Alright, so we need to let's add like an overlay button like this. So let me unlock that content section, copy this and paste it down. But this is going to be our our primary, or actually, you know what, no, that's not the one that I want to copy. Let's take our primary button over here and copy it down into our content. Alright, so let's change the text on this, and let's say get directions, and now whenever they're scrolling they'll be able to see this get directions button, and I'm going to move that into there as well. Okay, we can also, probably put like a darker overlay on this, but I think that the button will stand out enough without having to do that, but we can put a darker overlay on it. So now we get back to this section. So let's drag it back up to hide that and move it up. Okay, I'm trying to get all my stuff in the correct layers. There. And I need to make this go above our content. Okay. Alright, so one thing that I want to do here is not have it where it breaks down into another section for the arrow. So we can just have, this section leads into this section that leads into this section. But we don't want to have it where it has to lead into another section. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this, and we're just going to drag it down so it lines up with the bottom of the screen. So grab it, drag it down so it lines up with the bottom. Then we can group these together. Alright, there we go. Okay, so now we have like our footer call to action. So we're going to use the header 1 text, but it's not going to be a header 1. It's actually going to be a like a H2, but we're going to make it big so that it looks like it's a large header. So let's take this and we're going to center it, make it white, and then we're going to take the text and make it bigger. And we're just going to type in need to request an appointment, like that. That might actually be a little too big when they're viewing it on the web, so let's move it down a little bit. Alright, so now they have this need to request an appointment section, which is going to be visible on all of their websites or all of their pages, because it's going to be part of the footer CTA. So let's add some text into it as well, and we're going to center this, center that, get rid of this header text because we don't need that, and it's going to be very short text where it's just displaying some like phone numbers and stuff like that. So let's say we want to make it say call 1-800-000-0000 to make an appointment today, or use our online form. Let's see, online request form to, okay, let's do zoom in. Let's take this out and put it there. So call 1-800 or use our online request form to make an appointment today. I want to make this text white here, and then we're going to just throw in another call to action button underneath it. Alright, so let's pull this down a little bit like that, and then we want to grab this exact button and we're going to paste it in our CTA and have it centered. Okay, so now we have our footer call to action. I'm not liking how tall that is in between the spacing, so I'm going to move this up a little bit like that, and we can probably take all of this and move it up. Okay, and then take the bottom as well and move that up. Too far. Move it about right here. Okay, alright, so now this is going to be present on every page that we do. So the next thing we need to do is do the footer, and then we can start working on one of the internal pages. Alright, so the footer is your typical footer. It's just some information, some general links, and then a footer, sub-footer for your information, their information. So let's go ahead and break it up. So I want to do where it's 3 columns. One's going to be left aligned, and then these two over here are going to be, well, left aligned, right aligned. So we want to use, let's use this blue for a rectangle down here. So let's do let me zoom in, and we're going to take this and let's just draw a rectangle, and then we're going to use our eyedropper tool to go up and grab this blue so it's offset a little bit. Alright, so now we have the background, so let's create our columns, and I'm going to grab some dummy text again because the left side is going to be some information about them, maybe another logo, some awards maybe that they've won, you know, stuff like that. So let's come in here, and first I'm going to draw a logo, and down at the bottom, since we have a white footer and the logo at the top is colored because it's on a white background, we have a blue footer. We're going to have a white border going around it, just to signify that this is going to be a white logo rather than a blue logo. Alright, so we got that. Let's make it a little bit thicker so we can distinguish it. Okay, and let me go ahead and lock this part of it here. Actually, let me go ahead and create another layer, and we're going to call this footer. Then I'm going to drag these two rectangles up into it, and let me lock the CTA so I don't end up going to that one anymore. Alright, so now we have where the logo is going to go. We're going to put in some text down here. So let's do text, just put it in here, and we're going to have it left aligned, and we're going to use the body text that we have up here. So let's scroll back up to our body text, grab it, and now, so we're going to be doing 3 columns, so we need to have them 4 columns apiece. So we're going to have it where this text is going to wrap right here. Let me go ahead and make it white like that, and then jump back into text mode, and we're going to have it wrap at this 4th column, so all the text that goes past that line is going to be moved down like that. Alright, so now we have our two logos. Let's go ahead and put in some social media icons. So they have a Twitter and a Facebook up here. So let's take this and just copy it over. Let's see, unlock the content, grab these two, and then let's scroll down and we're going to paste it in here and just make it left aligned. So let's take our text and move it to where it's actually going to align, and then take these and move it where it's actually going to align as well. Alright, so that's going to be our first column. Now let's move over and we're going to start our second column here, and let's just do some quick links, and then we'll do like some contact information over here. So we want it to be the same, the text to start in the same place. So let's do quick links, and we're going to make this the H2 that we've used previously up here. So we're going to have that the same there. And now let's scroll down and make it line up with this here. So just like that. Alright. So now we have our quick links, and we can just add in some, I'm just going to put in some dummy text for some links that would typically go here. So let's copy this over and put it right here. Then we're just going to paste in some dummy text. Let's give it some spacing in between the dummy text. So like that. Alright, so now we have this, and we can actually, so since this one's 4, let's move this over, just put a whole column in between it because it's not very big. So let's put a whole column in between that, and then we're going to take this exact same section and we're going to move it over, and then we're going to right align the whole thing and then move it all the way over as far as we can get it, so that it kind of looks like this. And then we're just going to have contact us, and I say we can put like a physical address, phone number, stuff like that. Okay, so let's do like a physical address would be, let's do PHYSIC, physical address, and then below that we could do 1, 2, 3, 4 street name, city, state, zip code. And let's go ahead and make this bold. And then below that we can have like a link that's get directions. So get directions, and we'll make this text white but a little bit darker because it will be a link, and we should probably do that same thing. So I'm going to copy this F2 code, and all of this text is also going to be a link. So we're going to have white, and then so it's going to be like a light gray color, not a light, but an off-white color. Then when you hover over it, it's going to turn into the white color. And then let's say put in their phone number. So let's do telephone, and then that's going to be 1-800-000-000, and then let's do another one for fax, and I'm just going to make it the same number. So let's make this bold, and then make this bold. Alright, so now they have their phone number, their fax. Actually, I don't like the way that looks, so let's do it this way. And instead of doing that, do telephone and then fax right underneath it, like that. Alright, so that looks a lot cleaner. And now we can take this rectangle and give it about the same padding on the top as it is on the bottom. Why is it not letting me resize? There we go. Alright, so now I just move that, and I believe this is still that off-white color, so let's make it white again. Alright, so that is the home page. it's a very simple design. I mean, this is obviously not something that you have to design something this way, but I'm just kind of showing you my process. And I don't really necessarily like the way this looks. I think it would probably look a lot better if the text was a little bit maybe centered, maybe a little bit less text. But I'm just kind of showing you, the general layout of it and how I get there. But this isn't necessarily how I would design it at the end. It's just, what I can think of as I'm doing this in real time. Okay, so now let's do a final footer that has like the copyright information, I guess. So I'm going to take this entire section and I'm going to Alt clone it down, and then we're going to take this this background, and we want to do a variation of this blue color, but instead of it being this blue color, we're going to make it a darker blue. So let's just take this and move it down a little bit to make it a darker blue. Okay, so we can get rid of this, get rid of these, get rid of these, and this, because it's just going to be copyright information. So we're going to put in 2020 copyright. Oh wow, I cannot spell. Copyright. And then I think we called it example dentist at the top. Yeah, example dentist. And that should be all that we need. Why does that look weird to me? Copyright. That looks very weird how it's being spelled out that way. Alright, so let's just do the icon for it. So I'm using Windows, so I can just grab the what is it called? Character code. So I'm gonna pull up my character map and just grab the copy symbol. And then I'm just going to paste it in there and do all rights reserved. And then on the other side over here, we can put in like their privacy policy, terms of service, links, and stuff like that. So let's go ahead and move this into position here, and then we'll duplicate it, put it on this side, and then do a right align so that it lines up right there. And we can make this say privacy policy in terms of service, and then maybe even throw in another link to their contact form, so contact us. Alright, so now that will be our footer links. Resize this, and that looks pretty good. Alright, so now we have our home page done, but since this is going to be on it's going to be on every page, I'm just not liking the way this looks. It's too big. So let's resize it down a little bit more. Make it a little bit bigger than the font lines. Okay. Let's even center it. Right there. Nah, that doesn't look good at all. Alright. Let's just keep it there. I think it looks better being smaller. Okay. So now we need to take this CTA in this footer, and we're going to group everything together because this is going to be another section that we pull to the top of the page so it can be reused. So I'm going to group all of this together, and I'm just going to put it as footer, and then I'm going to take it, I'm going to copy it and put it in our guides up here so I can drag it over there. Alright, so now we have our header. We have our footer. Oh wait, that's not a guide, that's an element. I need to take that and put it in our elements. There we go. Alright, so now we have our call to action for the footer and our footer and our header that goes right up here. Okay, so now we can start building out these other additional pages. So let's take all of these elements. I'm just going to move them off screen a little bit because I'm going to duplicate this entire section. But first I want to combine everything down so that we can merge it all into one page. So I'm going to highlight all of it, and then I'm going to group it and we're going to put it together as homepage. That way we can kind of keep everything in order. And now we can also go into our artboard and resize our artboard so that it only shows the actual content of it. Okay, so now we have our first artboard. I'm going to click on this and I'm going to rename this to homepage. And then we're going to duplicate this artboard. So I'm going to click on artboards, hold down the Alt key, and make sure I'm in the homepage elements. We're going to duplicate the entire artboard. So now we got a second artboard, and this is going to be, let's say, services. And I'm going to go through this one pretty quickly because we already got everything kind of established where we want it at, but it's not, we're only going to just change in, modify a few things just to kind of make it where it's a secondary page. But I know this video is already probably over an hour that I've been recording, but you should get the general idea of how I create something. So let me create another layer. We're going to call this one services, and then all of the stuff that we just copied here is going to get moved into this, and I'm going to lock down our services page and our elements. So now we need to take our guide and we need to move it over to the next, to the other section. So let's take that and can I do that? Maybe I can take the artboards and move them over. That's not what I wanted to do at all. Okay, so let me unlock that because it didn't like the fact that it was locked. Okay, so now let's take this, move it over. Alright, so that's what I wanted to do. So we got our home page here, and now we're going to select our services page, and we're going to move that over and have it line up right inside of our grid here. Right there, and move it over so that our button lines, our logo lines back up where it was. Alright, so now we got our second page started here. So let me lock down the home page again, and we can just either reuse these elements that we copied, or since we already have everything where we want it at, we can just remove the things that we don't want in it currently. So I know that all of this is going to go away. Let me ungroup this. So let me try that again. So all of this is going to go away. Why is it still selecting the footer? Okay, so that's good. Let me lock that. Let's try that again. There we go. Alright, actually, I want to keep this because I don't have another hero image that we can use. There's going to be another hero up here for each section. So let's take this and make it go away. Alright, so for the internal pages heroes, we're not going to have any text in it, no schedule an appointment button or anything like that. So let me take this and lock it down, and we can just get rid of this. Now, one thing that I've seen done, and that I've actually done with medical clinics or dentists or anything like that, is that the page structure, like where the title and generic information about the page, I put it in like a tab format so it looks like a file folder. So I'm going to do that again on here just so you can see what that looks like, and maybe it's something that you can implement. So let's come over here and let's see, this is the header. Let me lock down all the stuff that I have. I'm going to create a new layer inside of this. Okay, so I'm going to draw a rectangle here, make it line up on each side, and it's going to be like a grayish color. just so it'll help it stand out against the background. So let's just make it like a little grayish color. And then keeping with the format of our angles, I'm going to come over here and we're going to make it where there's an angle going down. I think this is probably going to be a little too high. So let's take this, move it up to about right there, move it down to there, and then we can take our white arrow and we're going to take this point and we're going to move it up. So it kind of keeps in with some of the angling of the rest of the website. Alright, and now we have this. So to create a file folder, we're going to come up here and we're going to start at our line for our grid, our guide over here, and we're going to draw a rectangle that kind of looks like a tab. Then we're going to use this white arrow. We're going to select both top two corners and we're going to kind of curve them in a little bit, and that'll kind of give us like the baseline of our file folder. Pull it down a little bit and maybe not have it so curved. So let me take this and this again and kind of pull it up. Yeah, just a slight curve. And then we're going to come over to this side, and for this right here we're going to pull it out a little bit so that it doesn't go straight down, kind of curves out. Well, I don't like the way that looks at all. Let me see, let's take this and pull it back out. Okay, you know what, let's undo that and we'll make that angle in a second. So let me go back and pull it back down, and we're just going to take this one, bring it in slightly, and then we're going to take this one, or this point, bring it out slightly, and now we should be able to take this and actually make it curve the way it should. There we go. That looks better. Alright, so now it kind of looks like a file folder system at the top. We probably don't need so much space at the top over here either. So let's take our background rectangle, I believe it's this. We're going to pull this up. If I could grab it, there we go. Pull it up, let's say to about right there. And then this clip group, we're also going to pull it up to about, no, don't want to squish it. Let's release that mask, and then we're going to grab the square for the mask. What did I do? Okay, I think I gotta make a new one, so I'm gonna duplicate the size of this one and pull it up to where it's supposed to go, grab this image, make a mask, and then we're gonna put that rectangle back on top. Okay, that's what I wanted to do. Now we're gonna take this, and I'm just going to group it together, pull it up so it's back to where it should be. That, put it on top of this clip group in this rectangle. So there we go. Alright, so now, because I don't want to have a lot of space at the top of it, just because there's not going to be really anything here except for like a title or something like that. Why is this all grouped together? And make this a little bit taller since I moved it up. Okay. And we don't need that anymore because we got this separation, so we'll keep the one at the top, but we don't need the one at the bottom because this is what's separating the page. And also I'm going to make this a little bit lighter. It's a little too dark, so bring it up to about EF. Yeah, there we go. Alright, and then let's take and put a header H1 on the inside of this. So let's just say we're going to do service name. We're going to make it right aligned, and we're going to make sure that we're using that header text. Accidentally deleted it somehow. Okay, and then we're going to come up here, make sure we're using that header 1, and then we're going to make it white like that, and make it left aligned like that. All right, so now we have the service, the little tab distinction between the two, and you can even go as far as putting the service name inside of this, and making it smaller, and then putting like a subheader underneath it. But you kind of limit your space whenever you do it that way. So I'm going to put the service name here, and then put the let me take this, I'm going to duplicate this down, and we're going to put a service let's see, service subtitle goes here, and this text is going to be the same as our body text. So let's go over here and grab that body text, and then we're going to paste this down, or not paste it down, we're going to move it up so it lines up where it's supposed to, and make it white. Now we have our generic service information, and then up here maybe you can put in like your breadcrumbs if they're not too long. I mean, there's other things that you can use this for. I'm going to use it for a breadcrumb right now. So the breadcrumb is just going to be something like home services. I can't see. Services, and then service name, and let's make this that black color up here. Okay, and then we can also have it where the service name, if you're using Yoast, you can configure things like this, but we're going to make it where the page it's on is bold. Alright, so now we have that general information, and I'm going to come over here and we're going to copy this text that we have on the home page. Let me ungroup that for now. We're going to copy this, and then we're going to paste it here and right there. Well, not necessarily, I mean, you can have whatever text you want to have here. I'm just going to have it here, and then we're going to have some buttons on this side of it. So for the buttons, I usually do them 3 out of the 9 or 3 out of the 12 columns. So this text would have to now extend to about right here. So we're going to take it, and actually let's put a column in between. So let's do this one as 8 columns, which would put it to, I believe, right here. So let's take this, move it down, and zoom in a little bit. Alright, and I'm just going to duplicate the text a little bit because it's going to be describing a service, so they're going to have more information, maybe put in some bullet points or something like that, so we can kind of show them what that'll look like. Alright, so then I'm just going to take this text and I'm going to copy it down, and then let's put in some bullet points in between it. So let's do, and I'm just going to grab a character code for a bullet point because that's something you can handle with inside of HTML, so I don't want to draw it out. Alright, that, and then I'm just going to paste it in. Well, that didn't work at all. Let's try that again. Copy that. My computer is slowing down for some reason. Alright, let's see if that works a little bit better. So, bullet point 1. Yeah, it seems like it's working a little better now. Bullet point 2. Then, okay, well, it was working better. I think it's because it's such a large file. I have a beast of a computer, but apparently there is something going on in the background right now that is trying to kill the processing. Alright, so let me see if I can rush through this, and let's add a space, 2 spaces here, 2 spaces here, 2 spaces here. I'm just going to draw out the little bullet point circles. Alright, so it's trying to do the black color again, so we're going to change it to 333, 333. I'm going to have to start setting that by default. I'm sure there's a way to set it by default, I've just never actually tried. Okay, so now on this side of it, we're going to have some buttons. So let's go and grab our buttons from here. So let's do our primary button. Let me unlock the elements. And we're going to grab this. And we're going to put it in our, paste it down here. And it's going to be 3 columns width. It's going to add up to, or it's going to go up to the top of this. Then let me lock this and this again. Okay, so now we have it lined up where we want it at. Drag it down, and let's say that this will go to contact form or reserve specifically for this. You can add in a contact form if you want to, which I would recommend, adding in an actual contact form here rather than redirecting them to another page. Just one less click. But let's go ahead. I'm just going to change up some of the text here, and let's say make a reservation. Okay, this speed thing is really messing with my typing even more than usual. So reservation. Okay. Actually, it's not make a reservation. It's schedule an appointment. Schedule an appointment. And then we're going to click out of that. And now let's do find a location, maybe if they have multiple locations. And then finally we're going to set this one as I don't know, let's do patient information. Alright, so I want to make sure that this the first one is highlighted in a way that makes it different from the rest of them, so we're going to set it up as our selected the whole thing again. Got to ungroup it first, but we're going to set it up as a success button so that it kind of stands out between the rest of them. Alright, so now we have that. There's another thing that we can do here to make it where they can see some other services, maybe related services or something like that. And essentially I'm just going to draw out some boxes. We're going to use the 3-column layout again, or the 4 columns, so we have 3 boxes. And let's just do like this one, and we're going to make it the light blue colors. So let's go up here to our light blue, and let me make sure it's the right size. Then we just duplicate this out 3 times. And there. So I want to have some spacing in between these, so I'm going to select all 3 of them, and I'm going to resize it just a little bit to about right there. Okay, so this one we're going to have right aligned with that line. That one's fine. This one in the middle we're going to have center aligned. Okay, now we can take all 3 of these, we're going to drag it down and create 3 more options for them to choose from. So they have a total of 6 options. And then we can just go in here and write out using like a H2 tag the service name. So let's come over here and we're going to do service 1. Actually, let's just say service name, so that we don't have to change it up every single time. And then we're going to make this the H2 text. So header 2. Let's go down, and we can leave this as white. So, I mean, not as white, as this darker color, because let's say we can have this as like a blue overlay, and then we can have it where the blue overlay has a background image or something like that. So let's come over here, and we're just going to be pasting these in. So this one's going to be center aligned. And then do it one more time over here. Okay, so that looks about right. Now we copy these, drag them down into the center. Okay. Alright, so now we have generic information. I don't think we really need to add anything else beyond this, so we're going to take this footer section and we're going to drag it up. So let's unlock our footer section, click on it, we're going to drag it up to about right here so it doesn't completely intersect with it, and that's essentially what an internal page will look like. And let me come over here, and we're going to resize this, and I'm going to turn off the guides so that we can actually see the page as they are. So we have our home page here, and then we have our single service page here. But the rest of the pages, the About Us page, will look the same. It just may not have this or this on it. It may just be content, or else you could have, you know, different page templates that would reflect something over here, maybe not linking anywhere, or maybe using the same links. You could use it as your single page template. But all the other pages would kind of look similar to this, where you have your, you know, very detailed home page, and then your internal page is a little bit more simplified, because your home page, you're trying to attract that information or the interest in continuing on. The rest of it, you already have their interest. You just got to make sure that you're offering a service that they want. So I think that is it for the design portion of this video. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and build these out, save them as Illustrator files, export them. Actually, you know what? Let me show y'all. Well, I can't show you because it's going to be coming in a separate window. But what I'll do is I'll export them as a PNG, a PDF. Well, maybe not a PDF because it won't work anyway. But as a PNG, and the Illustrator files, as well as all of the image files that I used for it, just so you can try to replicate this on your own using Illustrator. Or you can replicate it inside of your own program. But that's about it for this design. Just look in the description. I'll put it on my GitHub account so you can download everything that you saw inside of this. I'm probably not going to do too many design tutorials on this channel, just because, you know, once you've done it once or twice, it's pretty much the same process over and over again. You just have to learn how to use the tool that you're using. Maybe next time I can show how to take something like this and bring it into XD and actually make it, you know, clickable, interactive, maybe a little bit something like that. I don't know if I'll do that or not. But for this tutorial, that's over. But for this, the thing that I wanted y'all to wait for is that my subscriber level has been going way up. And I do appreciate everybody that has subscribed to the channel. What I want to do, I still have a little ways to go, but I want to give away a laptop whenever I get to 1,000 subscribers. So if you have friends, or if you know any other people that may be interested, I'm probably going to, like, as soon as I hit 1,000 subscribers, I'll put out a video that lets you know. But I'm actually in the market to buy myself a laptop. So I'm going to find a laptop. I'm probably going to buy one and then convert it into a Linux laptop with like a virtual machine for Windows, so I can still do illustration stuff if I need to. So whatever laptop I end up buying for myself is going to be the one that I give away, and I'll give more updates about what that is going to be. But it's just something I want to give it away because it's surprising. My subscriber count has dramatically increased, And I just want to show my appreciation to you guys, and I'm hoping that, you know, if you are watching the content, you're liking it, because it kind of gives me that need or want to continue to create more and more stuff. So I just want to kind of give back a little bit, and I'm going to be looking for one for myself, so I can guarantee you it's going to be a good laptop. It's not going to be, you know, a $200 Chromebook or something like that. It's going to be a pretty good laptop. It's going to be a beefy laptop, and I'll even let you choose whether or not you want to have me install Linux on it for you and set it up the same way I'm going to have it set up, or if you want me to install, just keep Windows on it. I might even throw in a solid-state hard drive and build that virtual server that's in another video that I can link in the description or one of the call-out cards. So I might even throw that in there as well. But essentially what I'm going to do is, whenever I get to 1,000 subscribers, I'm going to I'm going to announce it, and you don't have to share it. You don't have to do any of this other stuff and jump through hoops in order to be entered into it. If you're a subscriber, you will have the opportunity to be entered into it, and I'm just basically going to put all of my subscribers into a random like winner picking solution on the internet, and I can do it live if y'all want me to. But essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick one person that is my subscriber now, at that time, whenever I hit 1,000, and I'm going to mail it to you. So wherever you are in the world, I will try to figure out a way to get it to you if you're not in the United States. If you are in the United States, then I'll send it to you through the mail. But I'm just going to be giving away a pretty beefy laptop when I hit 1,000 subscribers. So if you know anybody that may be interested in this content, share it out so we can try to get that number up quicker, and I can go out and start figuring out what kind of laptop I can get for you guys. So that's all I wanted to tell y'all about on this one. If you have any comments about stuff that you would like to see in the future, please put it in the comments below. Like I said, I'm debating on whether or not I want to do a Laravel tutorial, or I want to do a C# MVC style tutorial. So just let me know which one of those two you would like to see the most. But for now, I think I'm going to go ahead and call it, and I appreciate it if you watched all the way up until this point. Give me a thumbs up if you liked the video. If you want to see more design stuff, let me know. I might think about being able to do some more. But for right now, thank you for watching, and I will talk to you later.